Hi there, everybody. My name is Caprio, but you can call me Spencer if you want. And today I just wanted to showcase my Generation 3 Living Dex. I've been working on this kind of on and off for years. I probably started it, I want to say, in 2017. Finished most of it pre-COVID, but just there have been a handful of Pokemon that took a longer time to get, but I'll go over those when we get to them. I just today traded Lugia here. It's holding a magnet, I think. Yeah. I just today traded this Lugia from my finished XD Gale of Darkness. Currently finishing up XD Gale of Darkness completely, trying to do everything in that game. So I'm streaming Battle Bingo, for instance, over on twitch.tv/Caprio_ if you want to come hang out and see me, stumble my way through Battle Bingo. But yeah, this Lugia is basically the final piece to the puzzle. So let's go take a look at the old PC. Now you may have noticed when I booted up the save that it said 383. And if you know Pokemon, then you know that there are 386 Pokemon total in Generation 3. The 3 Pokemon that I'm missing are Mew, Celebi, and Deoxys, but I will go into why I do not have them and cannot have them, at least 2 of them, in a bit. So, but, first and foremost, this is Box 1. Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, Kanto starters. Most of the Pokemon in these boxes I have used on teams in various playthroughs. Like I said, I've been working on this over a number of years, and this FireRed file is kind of like a bank or a home for me for Generation 3. I just recently kind of figured out how to use Pokemon Box, and so I'm probably going to transfer everything that I have in Generation 3 over all of my games into Pokemon Box, and I'll make that another video just to show pretty much everything you can get in Generation 3. But this at least is a Living Dex for Generation 3. So I'm also frankly going to take my time with this because it took a long time. And so if you're down to just hang out and go over a lot of these Pokemon, yeah, that's what this video is going to be. So there's this Venusaur. Its moveset isn't amazing, but a lot of the movesets of Pokemon that you play through a game with tend to not be particularly amazing. Yeah, like this Charizard knowing Mega Kick is pretty funny. I want to say, do I have a Pokemon on me that's from this file? I wonder. I mean, I definitely do. Most of the Pokemon that I've caught, I want to say 20124. So yeah, that's the ID number for this file, and the original trainer name, pardon me, for this file is also Red. In recent years, I've decided to name all of my files just my first name, Spencer. But this file, I think I probably originally started when I was like in middle school or high school, and that was like a decade or more ago at this point. But yeah. Nothing too special until we get to this Pidgeot. Actually, what am I saying? One of my highest levels Pokemon. One of my highest level Pokemon, pardon me, was earlier. But yeah, this Pidgeot, I think, probably was on a team that I got to level 60, but I imagine I may have swapped something out for this Pidgeot at some point. This is Fillmore the Blastoise. His original trainer name is Nuzz. From the one time that I tried to Nuzlocke Leaf Green and I got to the champion and lost. That's happened twice for me, once in Leaf Green and once in Ruby, so I think I'm done trying to Nuzlocke these games. But decided to, not release any of the Pokemon that I played through Nuzlocks with, just because I figured, may as well keep them. And so this guy, Waterfall and Surf, 2 HMs on him, classic. But whenever I go through the Elite Four in this game, Fillmore always comes with me, and he's just 2 levels away from level 100, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, I think this, okay, this Raichu I don't think is one that I used. No, I think it is actually. Yeah, I do remember using this Raichu because I remember catching it and it was adamant and thinking, well, let's make this work, I guess. And, you know, taught it quick attack and brick break and stuff. Never used the Sand Slash on a team. Sand Slash is, I find, pretty underwhelming a lot of the time. Anyway, that's box 1. Moving through, this Nidoqueen I feel like has some HM moves. Okay, it has Surf and then Secret Power, which is funny. This Nidoking, yeah, this guy was my HM friend in this game on my playthrough, as you can tell, which is pretty funny. I have another Nidoking in my Emerald that I'm leveling for the Battle Frontier. It's adamant. It has a whole bunch of actually good moves, so excited to use a Nidoking in the Frontier and see how it fares. I don't think I used a Clefable, but I definitely remember leveling this one just so it could get some good moves. Florence, the Ninetales, also from the Nuzlocke game. What else? I don't think I used a Wigglytuff on a team. I think, yeah, similar to the Clefable, I think I just leveled this one. Vileplume I've never used, I don't think. At least not in this generation. This Venomoth. Venomoth isn't a Pokemon that I ever thought I would use, but it ended up being really good. Leech Life, you know, in any generation before it actually got buffed is, you know, it's such a shame, but, you know, Bug-type Stab in Generation 3 is limited to, like, Silverwind and then Hidden Power Bug, which is just a tragedy. Luckily, they gave Bug-types a little more help in Gen 4. I believe I've used a Persian on a team as well. See, this is the other thing, is I have some Pokemon in other files, like my Leaf Green, I know, has a Lapras that I'm a big fan of. But not in this file. I recently played through Pokemon Blue with a mono water team, and a Poliwrath ended up kind of being my like star player for that playthrough. Of course, it took advantage of Amnesia and Surf, so that made it a little bit easier. But you know, this one's pretty fun. I definitely didn't use this one on a team, but similar to some other Pokemon, I leveled it just so it could have some nicer moves than just the regular ones. This Alakazam, yet another Pokemon that I've been taking through the Elite Four many times. An eventual goal is to beat the Elite Four in this game 200 times, and that will have, or that will make it so Lorelei will have all of the Pokedolls in her house on, what is it, 4 Island, I think? If you didn't know, every 25 times you beat the Elite Four, Lorelei adds a new doll to her collection, and after 200 wins, she finally adds a giant Lapras doll, which is pretty cool. Lapras is one of my favorites, so I'd like to, just as, you know, part of a completion thing in this game, but also I just like Lapras, so having that in this file I think would be neat. I don't think I've ever used a Golem in Gen 3, but I do have a shiny Golem in my Platinum. Rapidash, yet another Pokemon I don't think I've ever used. A few Pokemon in this box I don't think I've ever used. Now, I hate to pass over Gengar so fast, because I know there's a lot of Gengar fans. I don't think this one's very special, unfortunately. I do, again, similar to the Nidoking, I have another one in my Emerald that I'm leveling for the Battle Frontier in that game. Okay, anytime you see a level 60, that's likely something that I've, you know, leveled to at least be high enough to take on the Elite Four round 2 in this game. And I believe I used this guy on my original team in this game, just judging by its level and its ID number. That's one thing that I really like about Generation 4 games, is they have dates that you caught or encountered a Pokemon. And that's something that, you know, I don't know that the hardware for Generation 3 games would allow, but it's something that I really appreciate about Gen 4, is that it can keep track of stuff like that. Okay, it looks like I may have used this Hitmonchan. That's the thing, I'm not sure about a lot of these guys. There's been a lot of playthroughs over the years. This Rhydon was on this original team. Pretty good moveset. Yeah, it's got Rock Head so Double Edge won't do any recoil damage, which is nice. Is this Starmie? 20765? Maybe, but probably not. I think if I used a Starmie, I would have probably given it some better moves. So this Gyarados I think I also used on this playthrough. Yeah. And then yeah, this Lapras I think is just an untouched. You know, it's from this file, but I have another Lapras in my Leaf Green right now. That's like actually, you know, used and good. Okay, so we've got a Vaporeon here with some pretty cool moves, level 56, and then very nearly this level 99 Jolteon is just so close to level 100, and I almost don't want it to get there. I kind of like that it's only 123 experience points away from level 100, but I'm sure at some point it'll get to 100. The thing about the Pokemon that I do have either at level 100 or are close to level 100 is if I were to bring them to like the Emerald Battle Frontier, for instance, they're still not like, they're not EV trained, they don't have the proper natures or anything, so they would do okay in the Frontier, but I don't think they're gonna win the gold symbols there anytime soon, if even the silver symbols. So it's cool that they're high level, but that's in Gen 3, that's pretty much just good for, I mean, going through the Elite Four in this game and then like Mount Battle in Coliseum and in XD. And again, this Flareon, I have another Flareon in Leaf Green. I like this Kabutops. I think it's got a pretty cool moveset. Aerodactyl, another one that I have in Leaf Green, I believe. Snorlax too, I think. And then all of the birds, I believe these are all from this file. They should be. Yep, and they should all have their original movesets, I think. Pretty much just caught them and then boxed them. This Dragonite, level 89, still a little ways away from 100, but another one that I bring through the Elite Four quite often. And then a Mewtwo. I guess I used this one a little bit, maybe to get through the Elite Four a couple times in the beginning. Taught it Shockwave, interestingly. And that's pretty much it for Generation 1. So this space here would be where Mew would go. So I'm in North America, and there was one distribution for Mew a long time ago at physical Toys R Us locations. And I wasn't there at the time, so, you know, no Mew for me. Now, I've been kind of debating about whether or not I'm currently playing this cartridge, for instance, on an Epilogue GB operator just to record the footage. And, you know, that offers the option to add the Mew event to my game if I wanted to, or at least it would offer me the option to basically, long story short, get a Mew in this game. And I've kind of been debating about whether or not I want to do that. As it stands, everything on this file is completely legitimate, and you know, I haven't done any events that I wasn't able to do either on like official hardware or whatever, you know. there is one event Pokemon on this cartridge, and it's the Wishmaker Jirachi, and that's still available even to this day, as long as you have the Coliseum bonus disc for North America. That's the same with Celebi, for instance, with the Japanese Coliseum bonus disc. So I could, at some point, still get a Celebi in this game, but as far as I'm concerned, Mew and Deoxys are both lost to time for me. So I don't know, maybe if you wanted to weigh in the comments about if you were in my situation, if you felt like, I don't know, you completed the Living Dex as much as you could, as legitimately as you could, and then so the only other way for you to get these Pokemon is to to add the event or whatever to your game, by whatever means. Or the side that I'm kind of leaning towards is to just never get these Pokemon, because I can't, and that's that, and it is what it is. But it also weirdly makes me feel like this file is even more authentic. Not that I have to prove anything, but just, I don't know, it's this weird pride thing. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, if you want to weigh in with your thoughts in the comments, I'd appreciate your thoughts on that, because it's something I've been debating, especially as I got closer to completing this Living Dex, and now that I've pretty much done it as much as I can, that would be the next step for me, would be getting Mew, Celebi, and Deoxys. The only other thing I've thought about for getting the three of them legitimately would be trading with a person who has actual legitimate event mythicals. I don't think I'm ever going to find someone who would part with them, but who knows, maybe someday. But that's a ways away. So anyway, the Living Dex, as far as I can tell, is as done as I can make it with what I have access to. All of that to say, there's no Mew here, and that's why this is empty. So moving on, the Johto starters. So the Johto starters in Gen 3, I mean, the most kind of sane way to get them is to get them from playing Coliseum. You can, in a single playthrough of Coliseum, you can get all three. You catch them as their middle, their middle, what's the word I'm looking for? Middle stages, I guess. At the beginning of the game, you basically get a choice of the three, and then towards the end of the game, spoilers for Coliseum, I guess, you get the opportunity to catch the other two that you didn't catch at the beginning. And then, you can trade them to a GBA Gen 3 game and then breed for the rest of them. I took a different approach. I got all three lines of these Johto starters from completing the regional decks in Pokemon Emerald 3 times. I don't recommend doing this unless you have Pokemon Box. At the time that I did this, I did not have access to Pokemon Box, so that doesn't mean that I caught everything 3 times, but I did do a lot of trading back and forth between Emerald and this FireRed file. I'll probably show some stats after I finish showing the Pokedex here, but yeah, I mean, at the time I didn't have the means to get the starters from Coliseum. And then there is one other way to get the Johto starters in XD Gale of Darkness. That's by doing all 100 floors or battles of Mount Battle in XD Gale of Darkness with the same team without leaving. That doesn't mean in one sitting, but you can't leave and go and do something else in the game. You have to, as far as I'm aware, if this is different, then feel free to correct me. But yeah, you can get all 3 of the Johto starters in one save file, I think, in XD Gale of Darkness. But I haven't done that yet. That's something that I still would like to do in XD. But anyway, so yeah, I think my first playthrough of Emerald, I named myself Brandon, but the character's name in Gen 3 is Brendan. So I was just wrong about that. And this is, I think, when I was still naming my characters what I thought their names were supposed to be, like Red and Brendan and Ethan and Lucas and yada yada. and then eventually decided to just name my characters Spencer every time, which is just my name. So yeah, these are all from the fully evolved guys are all from Emerald files, and this Meganium here is from my current Emerald file, which I'm trying to 100%. I'm also working on that. If you're interested in watching some post-game Emerald content on Twitch as well, once I'm done with XD, I'm going to go back to doing some stuff in Emerald, including some Battle Frontier stuff. Still need to get all the gold symbols, but anyway. So yeah, this Meganium is from my current Emerald file, which I played through Emerald with a team, got the regional dex, which is 200 Pokemon in that game, and then you have to have everything obtained in the regional dex, by the by, not just seen, so that kind of took a lot, but again, it's the only way at the time I thought of getting the Johto starters. So first Emerald, I got this Modest for Alligator, which I was kind of excited that it was Modest on my first try. Second playthrough of Emerald, got this Typhlosion. There's its moves, nothing super special. And then this Meganium, have not leveled very far beyond where it just evolves. It might even just evolve at 34. I don't remember. But yeah, pretty much just for the sake of the dex here. So yeah, anyway, so that's the Johto starters. Again, if you ever want to do this yourself, I would definitely recommend going the Colosseum route, because you need to play that game anyway for Ho-Oh. And also easier to get the legendary dogs in that game, so may as well get your Johto starters in that game too. But if you only have the GBA games and you feel like completing the regional decks in Emerald 3 times over, knock yourself out. So yeah, I don't think there are many. Well, I do have a Crobat and Emerald, I guess, that I've used. Lantern is one of my favorites. Again, a lot of these Pokemon on this file are Pokemon that I've more or less just put here for the sake of filling the Living Dex, but I have Pokemon in other saves that, I don't know, I feel are more interesting, higher level, have better moves, etc. So yeah, some of these Pokemon, not all of them, but some of them aren't particularly interesting. And a lot of them, well, oh, you know what? I did use a Blossom in my Nuzlocke of Ruby. But I think I transferred that whole team up to Gen 4. Which I regret doing. I wish I kept a lot of my Gen 3 Pokemon in Gen 3. Okay. So Espeon and Umbreon. Again, another great reason to play Colosseum if you're working on something similar. Otherwise, if you have an Eevee in FireRed Leaf Green and you've maxed out its friendship and you're wondering why it won't evolve, that's because FireRed Leaf Green do not have a daytime or a nighttime. So an Eevee, even at max friendship, will never evolve into Espeon or Umbreon. It will only do that in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald because they have day-night. Daytime in those games is basically from midnight to noon, and then nighttime is from noon to midnight. It makes sense, I promise. And yeah, so if you have a game, or all 3 Hoenn games, for instance, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and they're all daytime, then you need to, and their batteries are dead is another thing I should mention, and time doesn't flow, then you need to reset one of your saves just to make it nighttime to get an Umbreon, and that's what I think I had to do once upon a time. Yeah. Anyway. These guys are both timid, because I figured if I was going to go through the trouble of evolving them, they should have relatively useful natures. I mean, timid probably isn't the best for Umbreon specifically, like a bulky nature would be better. But yeah, that's something I learned the hard way about these two. So again, also good to get from Colosseum if you can help it. All of the unknown letters are in this game. What's interesting, this is just a fun fact, a little tidbit. If you go into Pokemon.com and you search for Unknown on the official Pokemon website, Unknown F kind of represents all of the unknown. So then I was wondering, is that like what Pokemon, I guess, views as like the default unknown? Maybe, I don't know. Probably looking into it way too much. I think before I knew that, I just decided A because it's the first letter of the alphabet. I don't know. Maybe I just had to. I don't remember. But that's the unknown to represent all unknown. But there is a separate box at the end of the Dex here with all of the letters. Spoilers, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't have ruined that surprise. It doesn't really matter that much. One of my favorites, Dunsparce. I'm a big fan of his evolution in Scarlet and Violet. I think they understood that the design is perfect and they just needed to add to it a little bit in the middle. Maybe add another spike on its chin or something and call it a day. Okay, so I must have leveled this Steelix. I don't think I used this guy on a team, but I feel like I probably leveled this guy and made sure it used some interesting moves for similar reasons that I've leveled some of the other Pokemon, just so they can have interesting moves. I do like Steelix, but I don't remember doing that at all. I think I might have did something similar for this Granbull, maybe? No, those moves are not interesting. Never mind, I take it back. Aha! There's a spot. We can fill that back up. So an interesting thing, I'm skipping the line here a bit, but if you didn't know, Flame Body and Magma Armor are both abilities that have the time it takes to hatch an egg in Pokemon games. These out of battle abilities, or like field abilities, however you want to refer to them, they only work in Generation 3 in Emerald. So as far as I know, having these guys in your party when you're hatching an egg in Fire Red Leaf Green and also Ruby and Sapphire doesn't do anything, which I didn't know until pretty recently. And I've always, I think just because it was a thing in Gen 4 and I figured this game has abilities, so why wouldn't it work? And it works in Emerald. They implemented it in Emerald fully, but not in the other Gen 3 games, which is kind of a shame. So if you're ever hatching eggs in a Generation 3 game, do it in Emerald, I guess, where Flame Body actually works. So this Scizor, Metal Coats, I mean, I haven't really farmed for them, but I figured if I'm going to evolve a Scyther into a Scizor in this game, it takes a bit of doing. Should probably make sure that the Scyther has a good ability, and when it does evolve, should probably teach it some relatively interesting moves. Scizor doesn't really get good until Gen 4, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I could use this thing to catch some Pokemon with False Swipe. I do have a dedicated catching Pokemon that I didn't actually make or have ready until I was pretty much done this Pokedex, but it was always a goal of mine to have a dedicated catching Pokemon in these games. And I do, and it's a Smeargle, but it isn't this Smeargle right here. This is just a random, I think this one knows Iron Tail or something. Fake out, okay, yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, Iron Tail, I think the Smeargle from Colosseum has Iron Tail for some reason. This Kingdra has the original trainer name Cody, because the Sapphire I got secondhand from a local store. And when I got Sapphire, the guy who had played it, Cody, I guess, had almost completed his Pokedex, but he was missing just a handful of Pokemon, including Kingdra and Milotic. So I kind of completed that Pokedex in that file. I don't know. It felt spiritual, which sounds silly, but I did that. And so part of me regrets it a little bit now because, it looks like I got this Kingdra from someone else. I'm only pointing it out just to say that I did this. I don't know if pointing it out is counterproductive, but anyway, that's that Kingdra. There's a handful of Pokemon here, I think, that say they're from Cody, but I would have caught them myself just on that file before I reset it. Cool. I didn't realize I had a Porygon 2 with interesting moves either. That's interesting. And it's also level 50. And it's bold. Bold, I think, is plus defense. Is that real? I don't remember. Anyway, certainly not EV trained. I haven't started EV training anything in Generation 3 until very recently, like within the past couple months. Finally got some actually good Pokemon for the Battle Frontier. Okay. Miltank, Blissey. So these dogs, these are all from FireRed Leaf Green. Different saves, of course. If you didn't know, you can get the dogs in FireRed Leaf Green, depending on the starter that you chose at the beginning of the game. Oh, they all say red. That's so interesting that they all say red. None of them say Spencer. Wow. So this Suicune is from this file. And then these are from other playthroughs, where I guess I named myself Red. Wild. Okay. Anyway, if you didn't know, the dogs, yeah. So if you choose Squirtle at the beginning of your playthrough, you get Raikou. If you choose Bulbasaur, you get Entei at the very end of the game. And if you choose Charmander, you get Suicune. And they are roaming legendaries that appear, I want to say, maybe after you beat the Elite Four round 2. I don't remember specifically when they show up, but they are roaming legendaries. And if you ever come across them, Raikou and Entei specifically, because Suicune doesn't get Roar, but if you ever come across them and Raikou or Entei use Roar, they unfortunately are gone from your game forever. And if you save, they will be gone from your game forever. You'll never encounter them again as roaming legendaries, which is a shame. I think that's an oversight for sure. So if you're ever going for these guys in FireRed Leaf Green, save before you do it. And I recommend saving your Master Ball for them. If you don't want to save your Master Ball for them and catch them in just a regular Pokeball or whatever, reset if they use Roar, because they will be gone forever, which is a shame. I think this Tyranitar, again, didn't use it on a team, but definitely wanted a Tyranitar with cool moves. So that's this guy, but not a good nature for a Tyranitar in Gen 3. So then, number 248 in the Dex. Finally, after years, number 249, this impish Lugia. I just beat the story of Gale of Darkness. I'd never played the game before in my life, yeah, I just beat it like a couple weeks ago. And like I said earlier in the video, I've been going through the post game in XD. Again, I guess if you want to join me for some of that, twitch.tv/Caprio_, if you want to come hang out, watch some Pokemon stuff. But yeah, it's nice to finally have this Lugia and this Ho-Oh I also got not that long ago. I'd finished the story of Colosseum and I'd caught and purified everything in that game a long time ago, but I just got around to doing Mount Battle and getting this Ho-Oh like a couple months ago, and I streamed that. I have a VOD channel, but all of the VODs are unlisted. So I also have a Discord that you can join, and there are VODs of some previous streams, including the final 10 battles of Mount Battle, and then getting this Ho-Oh, which was really cool. Yeah, it's got the original trainer name, Maddle, Mount Battle, I guess. And yeah, it's really cool to finally have these guys. The Lugia keeps your trainer name in XD, which is nice. I was worried actually because I named my character in Colosseum Wes, because again, I was, at the time that I started Colosseum, I was still naming my characters after what I thought their names were should be. But I was really glad that the Ho-Oh's trainer name is Maddle instead of Wes or whatever. So then, you know, I wouldn't stress about it not being Spencer, which is a stupid thing to stress over, but you know, it's the little things, I guess, when you do stuff like this. So yeah, it's nice to finally have them both in here in this Living Dex. This Lugia, like I said, being the final piece of the puzzle. Except, of course, yet again, this space would be for Celebi, and I could still, to this day, get a Celebi. I would just need a Japanese GameCube, Japanese Coliseum, and the Japanese Coliseum bonus disc. And that's a lot of bunny. That's a lot of bones. That's a lot of bones for your boy. I'm not going to do that anytime soon. Maybe someday. Likely not anytime soon. So that's okay. This space is going to be blank for a long time, if not forever. And that's okay. I've come to terms with that. But yeah, if you never got to do the events for Ho-Oh and Lugia, I think they were in FireRed, Leaf Green, and Emerald, but I don't know that 100%. But yeah, they do have events to get these guys in the GBA games, barring Ruby and Sapphire. But if you never did them, your only way to get them nowadays is from Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness. Part of me wishes there was a way to like in future Pokemon games, you know, they added items to change the form of a Pokemon. I think it'd be really cool if you could change Lugia using an item to Shadow Lugia, but I understand the whole thing that like you purified it and it's not supposed to be Shadow, but Shadow Lugia is just so cool, and it would be cool if it was like Dark Flying instead of Psychic Flying, you know? Anyway, one can dream. I guess they brought Shadow Pokemon back with Go, so that's something. So then, finally, we're into 37 minutes later, we're into the Hoenn region. Yeah, a lot of these Pokemon I played through Hoenn games with. Hoenn's my favorite region. This Blaziken, it's level 100. It's from the first Emerald file I had, so the one where I got that for Alligator for reference. It's a modest Blaziken, which is a little unfortunate for Blaziken for its fighting stab, but you know, whatever. Yeah, this is my only level 100 Pokemon in Generation 3. I know Jolteon is very, very close, but I just got this Blaziken to level 100 the other day, finally. So yeah, Blaziken's one of my favorites. Torchico's my first starter like ever, so you know, always gonna be super nostalgic for these guys. So happy to have a Blaziken get to level 100. And you know what? I think its moveset's pretty cool. I like that it has its signature move and Blaze Kick. I think Sceptile 2 has Leaf Blade. I really like when Pokemon have their signature moves. I don't know if the Swampert has Muddy Water. No, it doesn't. Okay. Well, the Swampert, as you can see, it's only level 37. For whatever reason, I don't know that I've ever... Like, I've used Swampert before in playthroughs, but I don't know that I've ever, like, leveled one particularly high. So, one of these days, I'm gonna, you know, get a Swampert to be Battle Frontier ready, and then Swampert will finally get its time in the sun for me, I guess. Because I know Swampert's very, very good in the Battle Frontier. So then, I think the next Pokemon that I used is this Ludicolo, holding a Never Melt Ice. Surf, Ice Beam, Giga Drain, and Rain Dance, PP ups on the Giga Drain. Yeah, on that original team with the Blaziken as well. I love Ludicolo. Great design, great energy, good vibe. This Shiftry, I think there's another Shiftry that I have. I don't know that I would have used this one on a team. Oh, its name is May. Okay, so I have another Shiftry that I used in a Ruby playthrough. That's currently in my Emerald. The Swallow I think I used, yeah, one of those first Emerald playthroughs. got another Gardevoir in Emerald. So Masquerain, this one I have in fact used. Masquerain's, you know, not amazing, but cool with Intimidate. I don't know, Intimidate's just like a stupid good ability. So, and I like Masquerain's design. I think it's a little underrated, but it's still, you know, a little underwhelming damage wise. Breloom, another banger Pokemon. Shouts out to Droomish. Yeah. Cool Pokemon. 25578. This guy, I know I used a mono grass team. Is that what this Sceptile was from? 25578. I think so. I think I did a mono grass playthrough of Emerald with like, I think I've got another Ludicolo that I would have used on that team, and I think it like only knows water moves pretty much, but I think that's also in my Emerald. This Exploud, super cool. For some reason I really remember using this guy. I think it's because I used it against Phoebe like every time, and it would kind of sweep Phoebe. You know, like turn 1, Exploud would howl when Phoebe's Dusclops would use Protect, and then I think I would just sweep with Shadow Ball. For some reason, it's like burned into my brain. Delcatty, another Pokemon that I used. Again, pretty underwhelming. Tried to make the best of it, but not amazing. But that's okay. We've got another hole. This Medicham I also used, I think on that same team as the Delcatty maybe? Really good Pokemon. With pure power, just like hits really hard. High Jump Kick is kind of fun to use, kind of a risk-reward thing. Yeah. But let's get Manectric in its spot where it's supposed to go. As far as my party Pokemon go, this is an extra Rayquaza. I don't, yeah, I guess from my grass team playthrough of Emerald. And then this is just a random Feebas. Just, I think I needed to trade something from Emerald to this game, or more likely trade something from this game to Emerald, and I just needed Emerald to trade something that didn't really matter. And my boxes are pretty close to full in this game, as you can imagine. They don't give you much extra space if you go for the whole Pokedex. We'll see that in just a couple boxes here, though. But yeah, Medicham's great in Gen 3 if you've never used one before. This Manectric. So now that I've gotten Jolteon to level 99, and I don't really want to get it to 100, I've been using this Manectric for the Elite Four instead. So it's definitely got a ways to go before it gets close to 100, but I also, you know, would like to beat the Elite Four 200 times. So Manectric is likely going to get there one of these days. I love Wailord. I think Wailord is just so funny. I don't know that I've ever actually used one on a team, which feels like a shame. Camerupt, definitely used this guy. I don't know why it knows Rock Smash, but yeah, really cool. Really cool Pokemon. Did a lot better than I thought it was going to. I think, I don't know, people make too big a deal about its 4 times weakness to water. Just don't use it against a water type and it's great. I don't know. It's it's wicked. And I don't mean for like competitive, I mean for playing through the game regularly. Flygon. I do have a real Flygon in my Emerald. I think my last Emerald playthrough had a Flygon on the team. Cacturn. Oh, this must have also been on the grass team. Yeah. 25578. Cacturn was pretty surprising, if I remember correctly, and surprising in a good way. It's actually kind of good. Altaria is one of my other favorites. I have an Altaria, again, in Emerald. That's a recurring theme. But that Altaria has every contest ribbon on it, which is cool. I did that before I realized that the Ribbon Master Challenge would start with a Pokemon from Coliseum or XD, because a purified Pokemon from those games gets, I want to say it's the National Ribbon, and yeah, you kind of need that ribbon if you're going to get every ribbon on a Pokemon. So unfortunately, I think I did the contest ribbons with the wrong guy, but I'm still glad I did it, and I'm a big fan of that Altaria in Emerald. But I do plan to Ribbon Master a Pokemon one of these days. Speaking of favorites, this level 69 Cradily holding leftovers. Jolly nature, by the way. Not very good for Cradily. I love this thing. This thing, as you can tell by its level, like carried me through Emerald, especially at the end against Wallace. Cradily just sets up amnesias, and then it's hard to get rid of. Yeah, I love Cradily. I don't know that it's my favorite fossil, but it's certainly close, because I also am a big fan of Armaldo. I think Armaldo's great. I have, again, another Armaldo in Emerald. I've also got another Milotic in Emerald. I should probably just show Emerald at this point, but yeah, this Milotic, I had an empty space in this Living Dex for the longest time where a Milotic was supposed to be, because I had my only Milotic in Gen 3 in my Emerald, actively using it for Battle Frontier stuff. There being an empty space here was frankly driving me nuts, so I just quickly, grew some berries and got this Milotic, and it took maybe half an hour. And Milotic isn't that bad to get once you have Feebas. It's, of course, getting the Feebas is a whole other thing. But yeah, if you're able to grow berries, then Milotic definitely isn't that bad to get. I definitely made too big a thing of it, like in my head, like, oh, it's going to take so long to evolve it. It didn't, and anyway. So this one is the epitome of placeholder, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Otherwise, for this box, nothing else really of note. So this is the final box. Okay, well, hang on. These three are kind of messing with the vibe. Let me just get these guys out of the way. Oops. Okay. So Snorunt and Glalie. This Feel line. Oh, I don't remember. No, I do have a Walrein. Okay, this is a Cody Walrein. Gotcha. I do have a Walrein. Say it with me. In Emerald. This Gorbis. Yet another Pokemon that was really surprising, actually. It was really good. Yeah, I don't know. It hit harder than I was expecting it to. It was great. And then Salamence, I think, yes, from the original Emerald playthrough. Not bad moves, not amazing. Metagross, this one is definitely more of a placeholder Metagross, for sure. Moves are not incredible. Reggies, I believe these are all from the same file. Yes, all from Brandon. And then we've got the Latias, Latias and Latios. I don't think... Okay, this one knows Fly, apparently. That's kind of funny. And then Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza, and Wishmaker Jirachi, which is kind of cool. I don't personally have a Coliseum bonus disc, but my buddy does, and he let me grab a couple of these guys. So one is here in Gen 3. I have another one in Gen 4. And yeah, so that's the only event mythical that I have in Generation 3. And that's it. That's everything for the Gen 3 Living Dex. And there's also the Unknown Alphabet, I did this pretty recently too. I figured if I'm gonna have the Living Dex in this game, I should probably get all the unknown letters as well, including, and I don't think I realized that they added exclamation mark and question mark. I have a second one. This was a mistake, but anyway, whatever. I do. I didn't need to get this one, but I did, and it is what it is. Yeah, I don't think I realized that these guys were basically introduced in FireRed Leaf Green specifically. So that's kind of neat that these guys were, you know, new for Gen 3 for the remakes specifically. But yeah, there's the whole alphabet, and then we wrap back around, and that's it. So the game gives you enough space for one of everything, and then one of each of the letters, I guess. But this box for the longest time was like extras, you know, like space for whatever. And at this point, I really just have like my party, and then like these 5 spots, and then if I didn't have an exclamation mark guy here, these 2 spots. So you have, if you fill a Living Dex, you have like 6, what's that? You have like 13 extra spaces to work with. I guess 2 extra spaces if you filled the daycare, and that's the daycare that you can breed at. There's the other daycare south of Cerulean, where you can just level your guys. So, you know, if you're really, really, really making the most of your storage in this game, then you can make it work, I guess. But yeah, that's everything. So I mentioned a lot of Pokemon that are in other games, and Pokemon that, I don't know, represent a Pokemon that I'm more proud of. Like, you know, I mentioned so many Pokemon that are in Leaf Green or Emerald or whatever, that I would rather showcase than what's in this Living Dex. But I plan on putting literally everything that I have in Gen 3 into Pokemon Box, and then also kind of doing a showcase similar to this in Pokemon Box. So look forward to that. But that's a Living Dex in Gen 3. I guess one other guy, since he's in this game, I may as well show him off. This is Dexter the Smeargle. I got him to be the perfect catching Pokemon. He's perfect for catching in that he knows False Swipe, Spore, Odor Sleuth for using False Swipe on ghost types, and also Taunt to stop Pokemon from, I don't know, using Roar or Whirlwind or Rest or anything like that. Yeah. So that's Dexter. If you stuck around to the end, thanks so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more Gen 3 related Pokemon content. But honestly, more than that, if you'd like to stop by my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Caprio_. I'd love to see you swing by and, you know, hang out while I'm doing more of the Gen 3 content I'm planning on doing, which includes most immediately, I guess, I'm doing Battle Bingo stuff in XD Gale of Darkness. I plan to do Mount Battle in XD Gale of Darkness to get the Johto starters again through that. Then moving on to Emerald, I want to get all the gold symbols in Emerald. In this game, in FireRed and Leaf Green, but this file specifically, I need to get the, I guess that's one thing I can show off, is my trainer card star. So I have 3 of the 4 available stars. The last star in this game you get from doing Pokemon Jump and Dodrio berry picking. If you don't know what those are, shout outs to Droomish. He has a great video on what those are and how they work and how to do them to get the 4th and final trainer card star. But yeah, I'm going to do that on stream at some point. Probably not going to succeed at doing that on stream, but we're at least, you know, going to see what they're like. So here's some stats, I guess, for this file. So I've traded 620 times, and a lot of that would have been trading back and forth with myself and my Emerald files to get the Johto starters would have been the bulk of that, I'd say. But even like 620 still feels like a lot. Like a lot, but you know, it is what it is. Union trains and battles, that's with the wireless adapter, and I just got 3 wireless adapters for the first time in my life. I just got them from a local game store maybe like a month or 2 ago, and so just, you know, saw what they were all about for the most part with like the Union Room and this in these games, so that was pretty cool. Gonna do some more wireless adapter stuff. You need the wireless adapters for Pokemon Jump and Dodrio berry picking to get the trainer card star, so that's why the 4th and final trainer card star for me in this game has been elusive for a long time. But yeah, one other thing I really like about the trainer card in FireRed Leaf Green is, if you didn't know, there's kind of like a photo kiosk in the Celadon game corner where you can basically take a photo of the team that you have at the time, whatever Pokemon are in your party, and it will put those 6 Pokemon on your trainer card, just like they are here. So this is how I kind of knew that, like, okay, a long time ago when I was playing through this game, I had Charmeleon, my starter. That Nidorino was definitely my HM friend. Gyarados, Kadabra, and that Kadabra is now like the nearly level 100 Alakazam. And then a Gloom, and I mentioned that I don't have a Vileplume that's a particularly high level, so I probably didn't continue using this Gloom, and this Paris I imagine I just had in my party for cut, is my best guess. But yeah, that's a really cool feature. That's like the closest you kind of have to like any sort of, I don't know, diary keeping or journal keeping in this game, honestly, other than like when you haven't played for a while and then when you boot the game back up, it shows you the last few things you did. But that's only really valuable if you haven't played in like years, and then you pick the game back up and it shows you what you last did literally years ago. Anyway, that's a nice feature. So yeah, that's the Pokedex as much as I can complete it currently. If we talk to Professor Oak about our Pokedex, 150 Pokemon seen and 150 Pokemon owned in the Kanto Dex. Nice. National Pokedex, 383 of 383. Finally, you finally completed the Pokedex. It's magnificent. Truly, this is a fantastic feat. You don't get the little jingle for completing the National Dex, but you do for completing the Regional Dex. Maybe because the Regional Dex is a little more, I don't know, doable. And then I guess if you go to Celadon and you go to the Game Freak offices, they might give you like a certificate or something. I don't actually know if that's in this game or not. Is that this building? Celadon Mansion, I think. I don't think it's this one. Is it the next one up? Okay, that guy's a fan of a specific type of gym leader. Are you the director? Wow, excellent. You completed your Pokedex. Congratulations. There it is. Player Red. Now, this is the only thing about this save file, is that my trainer name is Red instead of Spencer. But at least my Emerald file is Spencer's, so probably gonna... The nice thing about Pokemon Box is you can, instead of trading one Pokemon at a time from one game to another, you can mass transfer Pokemon from one game to another through Box. So I'm gonna be doing that to complete my Pokedex in Emerald, and then probably get the certificate in Emerald. But this is cool. I've never seen this before. I didn't know that it had Pikachu and Torchic. It's really cool, actually, that in FireRed Leaf Green they have Torchic and not like Charmander or something. I don't know why they decided to put Pecha berries on there, but you know, that's cool. This document is issued in recognition of your magnificent achievement, the completion of the National Pokedex. That's pretty cool. All right. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And again, always be plugging. I'm doing more Gen 3 content over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Caprio_. I'd love to see you over there. But yeah, have a great day. Take care of yourself. Drink some water. And I'll see you next time.